I earned my pro card in my third time on stage. It was exhilarating. Yeah, it brought me to tears because there's a lot of sacrifice. I mean, there's a lot of grinding. It was just very cool to be named one of the elites.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to episode 187 of the SupersetYourLife.com podcast, your weekly workout motivation to fuel your life inside and beyond the gym. Danielle Fischer is a WNBF Women's Bodybuilding Pro with her eyes fixed on WNBF Worlds 2024. She is also a pilot and a cross-country and track coach. She and her husband, Kurt, are proud parents of 6. That's probably the coolest accomplishment in the list, actually, is that last one. Danielle, welcome to the show. May we pray before we start?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Dear Father, Psalm 97:2 reads, "Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Your word is the foundation of how we train. May the words that we speak today be exactly what you desire us to say. Danielle and I pray that those who listen would find her story inspiring for their own fitness journeys, and if the timing is right, maybe even their faith journeys. Thank you for being our foundation. In Jesus' mighty name we do pray, amen."
Amen.
So Danielle, what did it feel like? I'm dying to know, what did it feel like to earn your WNBF Pro card earlier this year in May?
So I earned my pro card in my third time on stage. It was probably the most gratifying, rewarding experience. It was exhilarating. It was overwhelming because I did put, as all of the other competitors, a lot of time and energy. My family was incredible, and so I was very grateful. It brought me to tears because there's a lot of sacrifice. I mean, there's a lot of grinding, commitment, like everybody does, hard work, and it was just very cool to be named one of the elites.
Wow. So you came from a tough loss not too long before that, right? I think you placed second in November 2022, which was the same time as my last shows, just barely missing your pro card. So were you devastated? Like, were you expecting to win and didn't think that you...
I came into this as a challenge from a friend. So she's like, you know what? I'm doing this bikini competition. Do you want to join me? And I thought, well, I'm turning 50. That would actually be a very cool challenge. And I was also running a 50 miler for my 50th. I'm like, I'm going to do the 50 miler. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm going to do a bodybuilding challenge. So I
Wow.
almost took it as like a joke. But then once you're putting all this time and energy and commitment, and then you're dieting down, you're like, okay, this actually means something to me. And I didn't really have any expectations. I was probably naive to think that I was going to go in and win a pro card on my first time on stage. But that's kind of how I roll. I think, all right, I'm all in, and I'm going to go up there and I'm going to get a pro card. But I came in second in the fit body, in figure, and third in bikini, in open and masters.
And this is the same federation, right?
Yes, WNBF.
Okay.
And so I wasn't devastated because I was like, okay, this is my first time doing this. Like, this is great. I just need to work a little harder. So I did. And so the second time I went on stage in May, I was 2 weeks before I actually earned my pro card. I came in there with like, okay, no one's beating me this time. I came in to win. I came in to win either figure or fit body, which I knew I had more strength towards the fit body. Now, I didn't do bodybuilding on my second time on stage. I wasn't devastated. However, I was very disappointed because I felt like I brought my best physique. Like, I felt like I looked the best out there, but it's subjective. And
yeah,
I think that I was lacking.
That's what makes competing.
Yes.
That's what makes competing so hard, because we're all made differently and unique, and we all have our own art with our own physique and our own way. And so to say who's best and who's not it's always subject to opinion, and that's just one of the things that one of the parts of the sport that is part of the nature of it.
Right. And looking back, so I had professional pictures done each time, which I think is very helpful. Although they're pricey, it's worth it because you can reflect and you can learn from those pictures. And I could see that I was lacking confidence. I looked nervous, and so I maybe didn't look like I was having that much fun. So when I came up on my third time on stage, which is 2 weeks after I had had that, I guess, disappointing loss, um, I said, you know what? This is my last time on stage this season. So just go out there and have a good time. Like, seriously enjoy this moment. And I entered also bodybuilding because my coach was like encouraging me, like, you need to do bodybuilding. There's no one bigger than you out there. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I went up there and I laughed and I had fun. And yeah, I earned my pro card. So.
What taught you more? Do you feel like overall, looking back, you learned more after your first time stepping on stage, your second time stepping on stage, or when you won? So you've competed three times now, right?
Times on stage. Okay. So the first time is like a throwaway. It was just, like I said, it was a challenge. It was fun. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like fun stuff. So I didn't really have expectations, and I didn't really look at it as a victory or a loss. The second time, it was a loss to me. And absolutely 100%, I believe that I learned so much more from the loss. Although winning is very fun. When I was up on stage the third time and I earned my card, my pro card, it was fun. But the loss is when I learned that I need to bring something different. I need to be more relaxed, because that's one thing that is not my strength, that I tend to be very serious. And even though I'm having fun, I need to like loosen up a little bit and enjoy the moment and smell the roses. So I definitely think that loss taught me a good life lesson.
Wow. Yeah, that's a wonderful life lesson. My wife tells me that every day, and all my best friends that really care about me every day tell me the same thing. I love it. Why do you like the WNBF organization? What drew you to that? There's a whole bunch, especially within the natural federations, lots of different options. Why do you like WNBF?
So I don't have any other experience with other federations, but it does have one of the best reputations, WNBF. I mean, it's the cleanest, it's most reputable. I felt like it was fair, very fair, even though it's subjective. I think that the competitors are fantastic. Like, they have great people, encouraging, supportive. It was, those 3 times were great experiences with the judges and the feedback, as well as the competitors who showed up. So I love the WNBF. I would like to try a different federation late spring, and but I definitely enjoyed my 3 experiences with the WNBF.
Wow. Why so are you focused mainly on bodybuilding right now, or are you wanting to earn a pro card in figure and in fit body, or are you like, heck no, I'm a pro in women's bodybuilding, let's take this and run with it, let's go to Worlds?
So we'll see. I definitely think that figure is out for me just because of my muscle density. Like, I have too many striations, and
you're kind of outgrowing that category.
I've outgrown it, and I've accepted that, because I do like wearing heels. I do like being feminine on stage, because I do feel like it brings me back to being, a young kid in ballet, because I danced for many years. I was always on my toes, so it comes natural to me. But I would like to earn my pro card in fit body, because that was what I thought that I was best at. I'm not sure how I'll compete at Worlds for pro bodybuilding. I might need a little bit more time for some growth, but I guess I'm open to whatever life brings.
Yeah, we got a good year to put on muscle between now and then too, and so I think the muscle gains, the density, the striations, they're going to be even more epic this time around, huh?
Good.
Why do you choose to compete as a natural athlete?
I would have it no other way. I've always been a natural athlete. I was an ultra runner, or am an ultra runner. I was a Cat 2 cyclist. And I just feel like if I were to take performance enhancing drugs, to me, it's cheating. And it'd be working against what God gave me. God gave me this physique to work with, and this is what I have, and this is what I'm going to present without any drugs.
I love it. Changing gears a little bit. I just have to ask this one. Quads are a strong point on your physique. Like that's kind of like the big thing that jumps out at me. What's your favorite quad exercise for hypertrophy, muscle mass?
Right. So I enjoy any lunge, like whether it's Bulgarian or walking lunges, or any type of lunges is probably one of my favorites. And I also am up to any challenge of a wall sit. I can probably sit against a wall for like 12 minutes. So that's probably one of my strengths. But a machine, probably I really enjoy the leg press, and working my quads by angling the seat so I can really drive through the quads.
Awesome. My wife and I have both been obsessed with Bulgarian split squats lately, and Mark's got us into it too, because I think it's one of those exercises that you just never do it because it hurts. It sucks. Like just like nobody wants to do it. It's easier to load a bunch of weight on the bar and just do 5 reps of a heavy barbell squat and feel like a beast and say, yeah, I got a PR. But for muscle density and hypertrophy, the Bulgarian split squat is so underrated. And I think that you got to get into your 30s and 40s before you really appreciate it, because you're like, wow, okay, of all the different squat variations I've done, this one is one that I keep coming back to. And it's great. It's great. It's great for mass.
Absolutely. My husband hates it. He has really long legs. He's like, oh no, not the Bulgarian split squat.
Yeah, like I don't even have to use a lot of weight with it. I'm doing. I mean, you could probably do more than me. I'm just. I try to use as little weight as possible and get as much mileage out of it as possible, and that's it's just practical in so many ways.
Right.
In a nutshell, what did your diet look like on your last prep?
So probably a typical bodybuilding diet. It was eat 5 to 6 times a day, low fat, high protein, a lot of chicken, which I actually didn't mind because I actually do like chicken, a lot of fish, and I actually love fish. So I didn't mind that. A lot of vegetables. I did mind the vegetables, and not that because I don't like vegetables. It's just what they do to your body. They just don't digest well for me. So that was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah,
But
you get real good and creative at like blending them up into shakes and stuff, and so that your body like knows what to do with it.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Like kale. I was eating kale all through my preps back when I was big into prep big into bodybuilding before having made the transition to keto and carnivore. And I just felt like especially with kale, it was like I just hated eating it, and so I'd find any way to blend it or like put it in a casserole or something. But eventually I was just like, I don't think that human beings ever really sought out this stuff in the first place. I don't think we're supposed to be eating this. I feel a lot better than I'm eating meat.
Yeah.
How do you feel just day to day now, compared to how you did when you were eating a diet that was high in carbs, high in vegetables, and kind of more standard mainstream bodybuilding?
So I did notice when I was it was a carb cycling diet plan that I did for the first 3 competitions, and the carbs definitely made me feel bulk and sleepy and not satiated. I felt really hungry when I would have like a high carb day. So not a fan of carbs. Really never have been a fan of carbs, because it just of what the effects are for me, especially with all my intolerances, and didn't care for the amount of bathroom trips with the vegetables. It was just kind of brutal. So I'm glad that they've been eliminated from my diet. Yeah.
Cool. You speak really highly of your coaches. What did your communication look with your coaches, and how did they help you stay on track?
I have a whole lot of respect for the coaches who who got me into the sport. They were very supportive and encouraging. It was a great team to start with. They communicated via email. We checked in once a week with a weight check and pictures, and I would get feedback. They had a Facebook community page that we could get onto and share resources. So it was a really great experience. And I'm glad that I started off with a team, because the teammates were encouraging and they were there for you and helped you through a beginning bodybuilding season.
Were there any points in your prep where you felt like quitting, just throwing in the towel and going, man, this is I don't like the way I feel. I'm getting too hungry. Like, this isn't worth it. I'm just gonna, you know what, heck with this bodybuilding thing. This wasn't meant to be. Did you ever have that thought cross your mind during prep?
So I had different feelings for different stage competitions. My first time I was in a challenge and I was like, okay, this is my 50th birthday present. So there was nothing that was going to stop me. I did warn my kids about, it was a 12-week plan, and I said probably about 8 weeks in is going to be the time that you're going to be tired of me in my attitude. And I really tried to check myself
That's
a
a
few
nice way of
times.
wording it. That's very fair.
Because I knew it was coming, and
Yeah.
my kids would just look at each other and then look at me, and I was just like, okay, I'm sorry. And they're like, Mom, is this the time that you're talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, we're here. The second and third time, they were a little bit tougher, because I knew it was coming. Like, the first time you don't know how bad it's gonna get, and you're like, okay, I can do this. But the second and third time, you're like, oh, I know hunger is
Yeah,
right
you
around the
just get
corner.
blindsided, like,
And
wow, this is way harder than I thought it was.
right. And so, and especially when you're not losing and you're like, and I'm working so hard, and I'm on the scale, I'm like, okay, nothing is changing. But then I would have the pictures, and thankful for the pictures, because okay, I see a difference in my physique. It's not showing up on the scale, but I'm seeing, more muscle definition. So that just keeps me going. And honestly, I am a very driven person, and I am very much like a challenge seeker. And once I have a goal, I'm going after it, and nothing's really going to stop me.
Touching back to one of our phone conversations a little while ago, that carries over into your parenting too, because you were even telling your own kids it's okay to do hard things. Like, Mom, it sounds really hard to cut out artificial sweeteners. It sounds really hard to cut out this X, Y, and Z out of your diet if you don't feel like if it's right for you. Like, that just sounds like it's hard to say no. And you told them it's okay to do hard things. And and so the last couple of weeks for me, having been wanting to cut down on my artificial sweetener consumption, that's been something that I just keep reminding myself of. Like, oh man, like I would kill for an ice cold blue raspberry like BCAA drink or something. Like, no man, I committed to no artificial sweeteners. And Danielle Fischer said she's teaching me the same thing that she's teaching her kids. So yeah, I've been right on track, and sipping a bubbly right now. So
There
not
you go.
artificially sweetened, just something tasty.
Bubblies are great. They have definitely helped me through some prep. So
Yeah. Circling back to your experience within the WNBF Federation, were you one of those competitors that would stay afterwards and ask the judge as many questions as you could and get as much feedback as you could to see like how you would improve? Were you able to develop some friendships and some relationships with some of the judges throughout those shows?
So I did on my last time on stage.
Uh-huh.
I did ask one of the judges, I saw him in a hallway, and said, hey, can you give me some feedback? What do you think? Because sometimes you ask, one of the directors, and she says, I really don't know. You look like you have everything. And I never like when they tell me nothing, like, because then I'm like, where do I go from here with telling me nothing? You brought everything, and it's just like, who shows up? And I don't like that reasoning. So I did make some friends with some of the judges and was able to speak with them after the show, and they were very approachable, and they're professional, and sharing some comments with me. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's been my experience at, I mean, pretty much any bodybuilding show that I've ever done, but particularly within within INBF, WNBF, there's such a camaraderie and such a passion for health. And I'm not saying the NPC doesn't have that, but there's more of a competitive mindset there. Um, that's, I don't want to say more competitive, but it's just a different type of competitive, and there's a different type of camaraderie. And the cliques within the WNBF federation, I use that term respectfully. It just feels like everybody has each other's back, and it feels like everybody's there, yeah, to win, but really because we want to see natural bodybuilding continue to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Your faith has been a foundation for how you live and for how you train. What role does your devotional life play in how you train and how you coach?
Um, so I look at it this way. I share with my athletes my faith. I do coach at a Catholic school, which makes it easy to share my faith with my athletes as a Christian. Um, but you know what? Jesus leads me as a teacher, and as a coach, I'm a teacher to them. And what I try to do is I try to make them aware of their gifts that they're bringing to the team, whether it's the gift of leadership, or the gift of being the encourager, or the gift of perseverance, or the gift of just being just a pure talented runner, and sharing that gift with their teammates. Um, so I guess I show them that they need to be patient, that they need to be understanding of one another, and sportsmanship, all those things that we pray about, whether it's in the classroom or on the field, and we try to live that life, and they know how I live as a Christian, and what we stand for. So it's nice that I can share my faith with my athletes. I do like Ephesians. There's a couple that I like in Ephesians. I like Ephesians 2 about being patient and bearing with another, love, because in running and in bodybuilding, you need to be patient. It's a process of patience, and being loving to one another. You might be a competitor, but you still can love that person, and be loving and kind to that person. I also like Ephesians 6, which talks about have courage and strength in the Lord, because I feel
That's
like
the full armor of God, right? Is that what that chapter's on?
absolutely, and
Yeah.
I think about, like we said about doing hard things, and you need to have courage to do hard things, and honestly, bodybuilding and cross country running is very similar in the traits for success. You need to be accountable. You need to have integrity. You need to be disciplined. You need to have a good attitude, and you need to really love what you're doing. I think that I tell my children, number one, we love God. Number two, we love family. You work super hard, and I want you to live passionately. And if you can do those things, you'll be so rewarded with this life of joy.
Hey everyone, Coach Taylor Milton here. Welcome to Skullbellz TV, the official YouTube channel of supersetyourlife.com, where you're going to discover a weekly upload of quick and easy to follow workout tutorials featuring Coach Colt, myself, or one of our athletes to keep your workouts fun, practical, and effective. Our family's latest keto carnivore recipes that fuel Colt's competitions and keep myself and our kiddos strong and healthy. Video uploads of the supersetyourlife.com podcast, now over 100 episodes. Your weekly dose of entertainment, education, and inspiration to fuel your life inside and beyond the gym, and much more. Last thing before we get into the video, we're asking a big favor from you. This has been working beautifully, so if you would please think of someone you care about that would benefit from this video, go ahead and smash that like button, click the share button, and text this video to them. That would mean the world to us. And while you're at it, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss more exciting content from Skullbellz TV, because our team has lots of meat and lots of muscle coming your way, and I promise you won't want to miss it. When you hit the subscribe button, you'll see a bell icon pop up. You want to click that too so you're notified every time we release a new video. Thank you so much for the support. It means the world to us. Every like, share, and subscription helps our channel grow and supports our family's hard work. So thank you so much for doing your part too. That's all we ask. God bless you, and please enjoy this video.
What did your gym training and your cardio training look like coming up through your competitions?
So it did evolve. Of course, I think I told you the first time I went on stage, I was also training for an ultra. So I was doing quite a bit of running. So when you add in, I had been doing a lot of cardio. And then when you start dieting down, I think to me, it was a little bit easier for me to lose weight the first time. So my split really, I did my own split the first time, which is funny looking back because it really wasn't a split. I did like 2 to 3 boot camp classes. So like hitting all body parts, but not to failure. So like there's very little failure training in my first season. And if you look at my pictures, you can tell there wasn't a whole lot of muscle growth. I mean, I was lean, but I just didn't have like I gained 2.5 or 3 pounds of muscle going from season 1 to season 2. And my season 2, there was very little cardio as in step mill or, running. I did a lot of walking because I have a dog and did a lot of walking. So probably like 60 minutes a day. I'd like to compare it to maybe 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day, that's a lot, but I am also a coach and, a mother of several children and a mother of a dog. So there's a lot of steps. But my split was really a 5-day split. And I did 1 day of, still kept a boot camp class in once a week. And I just hit, my first day was back because I was that was a lagging body part that my coach felt as though the back needs to be on the first day because you're rested. So back, and then
Smart.
It was my last day was shoulders because I already had like pretty good delts. I need to work on the rear delts. A lot of posterior chain work is really what was lagging. I did only have 1 day of legs, which I was a little disappointed in because I felt as though I needed more, but she disagreed. So we just kept it to 1 day. And then I had bis and tris. So yes, that's how it worked out. And yeah.
So you have a back day, a bicep day, a leg day, a tricep day, and a shoulder day. Chest?
In the shoulder day was my chest. Yep.
Okay, right on. Wow, that's really interesting to be training legs only once a week. But I mean, your legs are beasts though, so I can see that. Cool.
This summer I have been doing it twice a week. I've changed. So after a competition in June, the first week in June when I finished my season, and then I still feel as though the posterior needs more work. So I've been doing more back and more hamstring and definitely more glute. So, I've been doing more, a different split this summer compared to like when I was in season. Okay.
Did your training change as you got closer to the show? There seems to be coaches that will throw the book at their athletes like every single day. They're having them do something different, and then there's coaches that are just like same thing, just a little bit less. Same thing, just a little bit less. Same thing, just a little bit less. I'm just kind of curious as to what your coach's school of thought was on that.
My coach changed nothing. It was the same workouts. And honestly, as I got closer to show, I was going down in weights. I was feeling weaker in the gym.
Yeah.
To the point when I'd go out for my walks, I thought I'd fall over. It was pretty tough. And like I said, I felt like I was getting weaker. Now, when we got down to like the last week I think that's when things changed with, legs. Last time I did legs was a week out before competition.
Yeah.
I did very little walking. And I think I was just doing upper body no legs. Yeah. It was upper body last week or 10 days.
What was your peak week protocol like? Did you keep your diet relatively the same all the way up through the show, or did you completely deplete and then do a massive rapid backloading like a lot of people do?
So we do a complete deplete and then you stay depleted like the whole time.
Yeah.
That peak week was just rough.
Yeah, it
Especially
sucks.
since the first time I did it, I took in the 2 gallons of water, and I think I took in 1 gallon in like an hour and a half, and I almost passed out from it. It was really rough. So it was just basically low carb, and the fill on Friday wasn't that much. It was mostly carbs, but it was still like we're talking like I was the last week of training. I think I was at 700 to 800 calories. I don't know how I survived that.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
No wonder you felt like falling over.
Oh my gosh, I had no energy. It was brutal.
So what did you carb back up on though? What did your refeed look like the night before the show to fill out?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a refeed because it was like 6 rice cakes with some honey and a tablespoon of almond butter.
Oh, that was it?
Like like every 2 hours. Yeah, there wasn't a
Wow.
lot.
Yeah, because whenever I did rapid backloading, my approach was always the more the better, and it's just so different for every person. Like this does not work for every single person, but for me, I don't know why I think my body's just so sensitive to carbs, and so here again, that's why it's better for me to just be on the carnivore diet the rest of my life. This is great. I'll miss them one bit, but when I would do the rapid backloading approach, so I'd do the same thing. I would deplete for an entire week, but then we would just fill up my muscle bellies as much as possible. And so I'm talking about 8 or 9 pounds of sweet potatoes like throughout the course of the day, and just like gut felt like trash going to bed, like it's hard to sleep. So I would drink some alcohol just to make sure that I could go to sleep, and then I would wake up. I'm not even kidding, 6 or 7 pounds heavier every single time. The last time that I did it was the last show. It was a non-tested show, and so I already knew that I had done well on conditioning, but for size, I needed mass, and so I don't really. I don't know. I'm still going back and forth as to whether this is a good idea or not. But it's actually how I placed it. I didn't think I would place it this show, and but I was able to fill out with enough mass to be able to place, even though I sacrificed some of my conditioning. So like aesthetically, I'm not happy with how I looked, but I was able to give the judges more what they wanted. They wanted size, and so the sweet potatoes did the job. But no more. I think it's healthier to go into a show. It should just feel like it's another day at the gym. It should just feel like it's another day at work, and so that's why, as carnivores, it's a lot more intuitive, this approach. And so I think that my hope for you, my goal for you this time around is for you to be lean, ready to step on stage 6 weeks out, feeling great and not being hungry. That's typically what happens if it works well. Some people will get hungrier than others and like moodier than others as you get closer to the show. But here again, it's different for every person. So
Right. I'm excited. Yep. I cannot wait. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Let's see. We got about 10 minutes left, but we haven't talked about running at all yet. And that's something that both of us are equally passionate about. What got you into running, and what got you into wanting to go so far as to coach?
So I got into running when I was in college. It was just a release for me. I was taking a lot of classes because I was a little bit behind, and it just helped with stress. So I started running in college.
Yeah.
And then we moved to a city. We got married, moved to a city, which had like great running trails and great neighborhoods to run in. So and we had a dog who needed a lot of exercise, and I started running there and started working into marathons, and I just loved the sense of freedom and how I felt, and the the happy hormones that are released, and we got into it as a family as we expanded our family. Every one of our kids is a runner, and it's something that we share, which has been awesome. So we do have our older kids are competitive runners, and when they were just starting to get into competitive running, I started coaching. I'm a USATF certified level 2 coach, and then started coaching them, and it worked. It worked well, and I was able to coach my daughter through high school on her cross country team and track and field, and as well as I'm coaching my son who's at the high school that I coach at. So it's been wonderful, and it works well for us. So yeah.
Coaching is rewarding. I love coaching kids. I love coaching youth because they're so open to learn, and they love to learn, and they typically don't care about what other people think like we adults do, right? It's
right.
And a child asks me, hey, "You're barefoot in the grass. Why are you barefoot in the grass?" And I'm like, "Bro, it's great for you. Like, you'll sleep better at night. It's just good for your body. Like, you should be doing it too." And like, wow. And like they're doing it 2 seconds later, like an adult asks you, why are you wearing shoes outside? I'm like, because I'll sleep better at night. They're like, what? Show me scientific proof. I don't agree with that.
I mean, sharing my running passion with young athletes is in some ways like a dream come true, to be able to share your passion with people, with like-minded people, and helping these kids develop skills and strategies, and like mental strength, because that's what running is really about. And then you see them, develop as leaders and teammates who love one another. And it's awesome to have a positive impact, especially on female runners, because I do coach cross country female athletes, and then track and field is actually co-ed. But to see these young teens have their confidence soar and their dreams come true it's so rewarding.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm finding the same thing with coaching little guy football right now. I'm like, man, the last thing I have time to do is coach little guy football. But there's something about it though. Like, I love it. Like the way that, like, just like you're saying, you see him grow from practice to practice, and they're learning the things that you told them, and they're putting it into practice. And I mean, they sit at school all day just thinking about football practice. Like, they live for it. They love it, and to be able to give back is super rewarding. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So how many marathons have you run?
See here. I have run regular marathons, like 26.2, 7 marathons, and I have run 2 50-milers, and I have run 3 50Ks. 50K is probably my favorite distance because you can recover from a 50K pretty quickly. And it's also usually done on trails, and I do love running on trails. So yes, and I did make an attempt for 100K for my 40th birthday. We went out to the Cuyamaca out west, and I got hyponatremia, so I'm actually very sensitive to my sodium water balance, and I learned that again when I did my first prep and I took down 1 gallon of water in a short period of time. My body does not like anything out of homeostasis. It's like, okay, I'm sensing something here. I'm gonna make you pass out right now. And the doctor pulled me on that 100K because I was blowing up like a tick from lack of too much water and lack of salt. So
my hips are killing me right now just thinking about making it that far. That's usually the first thing to go when I train. It's kind of my limiting factor. I'm like, all right, and so any more than 60 minutes at a time I think is just too much for anybody that weighs over 200 pounds. I just don't think it's really the smartest form of exercise. But to your point though, like, I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to that runner's high. Like, I really, really am. When you get out and just get lost, and it's just you and God and nature. I mean, that's the time to pray. That's the time to meditate. That's the time to rethink your life. And you have some of the best thoughts that come to your mind that you just never would have, that you never would have stumbled across otherwise. You can be completely honest too. And And it won't change my perspective on you one way or the other. But do you enjoy the first part of the run, or is it just like after you've been running for a while to where you're like, okay, now I'm glad that I made it out here? Because the first half of the run for me, every single time, it sucks. I hate it. I don't want to do it. So I specifically set my timer for 30 minutes because I know that if I can just make it that first 30 minutes, the second minute's great. I love it. All the endorphins are released at that point, right? But that first 30 minutes, I'm just not a fan of. I'm curious if you've ever fought with that.
I guess when I'm injured, and I know I shouldn't be running, and I'm doing it anyhow, I'm like, okay, this sucks. But I love running at dawn. It's like one of my favorite times to run. And when I go, I love nature. And when I hear like the birds or morning noises, it makes me so happy. And I'm just so grateful to put one foot in front of the other and just do multiple hops down the road. I love every step. I really do. I mean, I would have to say when I do ultras, I go through a lot of dark periods, definitely. And that's what's so cool about an ultra, is that you go through many stages through an ultra where you're happy you're doing it, and then you get quiet because you got these thoughts going through your head, you're challenging yourself, am I going to make this? And then a lot of talking with God, and then sometimes falling and hurting yourself a little bit more, and just the depletion. You can go through some darkness and then you pull out of it, which is really cool how it happens. And my family also does a lot of epic hikes here in the White Mountains. We do a family hike every year called the Presidential Traverse, where we hike 8 mountains. It's 20 miles through 4,000 footers, the presidential range. And our fastest for me was 8 hours and 50 minutes. And it's similar to that experience when you're hiking all day like that, like you go through highs and lows. But it's amazing what the mind can do and what you can push yourself to do with the mind and with a whole lot of God's help.
Definitely. Yeah, my favorite verse to meditate on, going back to your point about just like being in touch with nature. Like, I know it sounds cliche and it sounds kind of silly, but Psalm 119 verse 19, I am a sojourner on this earth, hide not your commandments from me. And the deeper underlying meaning behind that is that, I mean, really we're in this world, but we're not of this world. And so as coaches, we're leaders, right? Like, we're always trying to influence somebody. Like, we don't feel like we're really living our purpose on earth if we're not telling somebody what to do and they're learning from it and they're executing it and benefiting from it, right?
Absolutely. That's right.
And so it's just the same thing with our faith. So I'm so sad it's at the top of the hour right now, because I just feel like this conversation is just getting started, but we're checking in tomorrow too. So goodbye for just a little bit.
All right. Thanks for the chat today.
For sure. The pleasure's all mine. Where can our listeners go to follow you in your journey?
You can find me on Instagram. Danielle Loves Her 6 is my Instagram, and
6
as
cherubs.
as well as on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, thank you so very much. We're going to put links to those in the descriptions of this episode, and we will be talking really soon. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Colt. Have a good night.
You bet. You too.
Bye.
Hey, podcast. Thanks so much for joining us in this one. If you found this helpful, please pay it forward by sharing with a friend. One more thing before we sign off. If you are not subscribed to our nutrition podcast, it's called Carnivore Coach's Corner, and you're really missing out. Coach Mark Ennis and I are thrilled to announce that we are ranked 108 in the U.S. by Spotify in Nutrition Podcast. Number 1, here we come. Mark and I collaborate weekly, diving deep into meat-based nutrition and advanced hypertrophy training, featuring top coaches and nutritionists from across the globe. If you are a fan of the low-carb lifestyle or just getting into it, just search Carnivore Coach's Corner on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Overcast, Google Podcasts, and if your podcatcher isn't on that list, just tell us where you're listening and we'll make sure to get Carnivore Coach's Corner over there where you can listen to it. Thanks again one more time. We'll catch you next Monday on episode 188. And I'm going to leave you with our battle cry from supersetyourlife.com. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Do you not know that your body is a sanctuary of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were purchased at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body.